Hey, this is John from Whatifi. In this video, I'm going to show you our first pass OpenAI integration into our software. Pretty excited about it. There's obviously a lot of hope and hype around artificial intelligence, but what you don't hear a lot is about people using artificial intelligence with finance. And there's a reason. No one in their right mind would trust a large language model to run complex time series, multivariable projections years out in the future. There's simply so much riding on those calculations being correct, and we've all seen what happens when a spreadsheet has a single number incorrectly, that people don't trust the data. They need to be able to see what's inside of that, understand the cause and effects before making their decisions. So we're not trying to do that either. Instead, what we're doing, because we're generating so many different what-if scenarios with our software, is we've trained a large language model to be able to understand all of our calculations that we're generating correctly in our model, and then use that to be able to tease out insights and answers and analysis all in real time across all of those scenarios. Being able to ask questions, compare, and figure out what the best option is. Coming relatively soon is we'll be able to not only look at the outputs of our financial calculations, we'll also be able to pair those with the inputs, the context. So not only are you looking at, we're going to make $1 million this year, but you're going to understand the when, the what, and the why that actually generated those, so that when you're making decisions, it's not just about outputs, but it's also about inputs and how all of those come together. The ultimate goal is creating an AI agent-like experience, a co-pilot that's trained on your business, your model, but also your industry, to be able to surf along and give you guidance, help make insights, observations, and optimize basically your plan and your day-to-day to be able to maximize your business. It's a pretty big, ambitious goal, and it's very unique and specialized to what we're doing because we have built the plumbing and the architecture to be able to create all of this data in a parsable, readable sort of way. Anyway, I'm going to jump into it. Happy to answer sort of questions and talk more about where our roadmap is going long-term with this initiative. Let's dig in. Okay, so by now I'm going to assume you're familiar with our software enough that I won't get into the nitty-gritty, but here we built a model. Reminder, we could build any type of model. It can be a financial model, it can be an operational model, it can be about capacity and staffing. So this specifically is a staffing model. What if we have a company? What if they have certain resources? What if they need certain resources to be able to pull that off? What resources have they used to date? What are our capacity calculations? What happens if we're awarded all of the work that's being bid on? What if we're awarded part of that? What if some of that is delayed in the schedule? What if it stays on schedule? So long and short, we're generating 4 different scenarios here, 4 different revenue amounts, and we can see different versions of the future. And we look through a whole host of different lenses to determine what information we want to be able to see. The result, though, is that we are generating a lot of data. So for these 4 scenarios, we're literally generating all of this information out into the future here for a couple of years. And that's simply just too much information for the average person to be able to parse and kind of get any insights into. So that's where our OpenAI integration has come along. So you now have the ability to ask questions of your model. So I'm going to start a new conversation here right now, and I'm going to ask the model, please analyze all 4 of these scenarios and tell me which ones are the most profitable long-term. And what that's doing right now is taking all of that ledger data, all of that information, keeping track of it and all its various components, loading that up and doing an analysis of that right now. Boom, and it's returning our results. And if I need to look at it, I can look at our cumulative data over here, and I can see that it was able to go through and literally just pull that data out of this big, massive information that we have. Great, that's step 1. Not so difficult, but just the beginning of what we're able to do. Now we can drill a little bit deeper down. Please analyze all 4 scenarios and let me know which scenarios I have potential capacity problems in, period. Please identify what role or department has the capacity challenges and when and if I should hire more staff to fill that gap. Great, and here we have our results. So it's able to go through all of our different scenarios and identify where some of those gaps are and the recommendation on which ones to hire. So for example, let's get specific. Analyze scenario thread 5 and tell me which roles I have potential capacity issues for. And now we can get granular and look at a specific scenario and drill into that detail and see what those recommendations are. What we're able to start doing now as well is do some secondary calculations on top of that data. So I could run something like, if I am paying the average compositor $40 an hour, what would my expected new additional expenses be to fill that capacity gap? And this is still a relatively new area here, and we're doing some testing, but the ability to take that initial data and run secondary calculations on that data to be able to generate new insights. As this is kind of loading up, one of the big areas we want to be able to focus on down the road is the ability to not only run calculations and analysis on these end results, but also the ability to pull in some of the data that's already here to give more context to inform the models. Right? So here we have an example of what some of those expectations would be and what our expected costs would be to be able to generate that. Anyway, that's just a quick lightning version of what's capable in the software. On our roadmap, as I mentioned, we want to be able to build out this extra layer of context, because ultimately what we want to be able to do is we want to be able to tie these models into external API feeds. So whether that's pulling things from HubSpot or Salesforce or QuickBooks or whatever you're using to generate information and track that, run it through these different scenarios, be able to put KPIs and goals at the end of this so that these simulations are running automatically on a regular cadence and letting you know when it's starting to spot challenges in the data, and also being able to run Copilot and let you know when there are decisions to be made and potential threats to your business model. Anyway, that's it for now. Happy to answer more questions.